lot of the leadership, most of the leadership in Parliament of the committees are, are from the party in government because they have a majority in Parliament. There are situations that are going to arise where, like we had during the Grand Coalition government, where, before we became part of that Grand Coalition, ODM had more members in Parliament than the party of government. So these situations are dynamic and can arise. So it is Parliament to fulfill its constitutional obligations to provide legislation, representation, and oversight. And it's not representation of the government. Members of Parliament represents the people and the counties, so to speak. So I think once we know how that system should operate, and this is not just akin to Kenya, even the United States of America, the Congress is distinct from the executive, and nobody questions, the role of that constitutional duty that the Congress has. Although every political party would want to operate with the majority in Parliament or in Congress, so that there's not disharmony and dysfunction. But again, there are dangers when a party in power is overrepresented in Parliament.
Now, back to this broad-based government and the inclusion of 5 of members from the ODM party into it. Someone posted on their social media platform that why just ODM? Why didn't other political parties within the coalition of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition be approached to be part of this broad-based government?
I think probably that would now be for the president or people in Kenya Kwanza to answer that question, because as I know it, they were approaching individuals to serve. And as we speak now, I know those positions are not being completely filled. I think there's still a position remaining in cabinet, one ministry. So probably, it may be in the mind of the executive to approach another sector. But it should not be lost that when the Kenya Kwanza government was trying to form this broad-based government, they were probably looking for regions where there was no effective representation and inclusivity in the national government, that is the executive. For example, in the entire Nyanza region, and excluding Kisii and Nyamira, there was only one member of the cabinet, for the entire region. In the coast, of course, there was, if I can remember very well, there was Minister Mvurya. Now, with an addition of Honorable Joho.
There was also, I think, Aisha Jumwa.
Aisha Jumwa. Yeah, it was just a replacement.
Yeah.
And maybe the question of gender was arising, but when they appointed our young girl from Turkana, that issue of gender seemed to have been addressed, although in entirety of that formation, I am not sure that the gender rule has been fully, accomplished. Yeah, but all in all, I can say that that was an attempt to form a broad-based government by a party in power. It was not by a group of parties or more than one party sitting down to say this is how we are going to form this broad-based government. I think it was from the perspective of the current government on how to form that broad-based government.
Let's talk about the Gen Z uprising, the demonstrations they staged in the month of June was vigorous and it shook the country. Do you think some of the issues that they were raising have been addressed by the government of Kenya?
I don't think they have been addressed at all, but I think there has been some statements to the effect that they are going to be addressed. Now, if you just talk broadly about some of the issues they were raising, the cost of living was was an issue. I don't think it's been sufficiently addressed. Although the finance bill, which was going to compound the situation, make life harder through more and more taxation, in itself, the withdrawal of that bill did not answer to the questions that were raised around the cost of living. You remember even last year when Azimio and ODM were raising these issues about cost of living, the Kenya Kwanza administration said, no, this is not something to be addressed by the team from the two coalitions, that it is the government that is going to rise or fall, whichever way they were going to address that issue of the cost of living.
If you're in the shoes of President William Ruto today, you are the president of Kenya, how best would you handle this Gen Z issue? How would you approach it?
The Gen Z issue is issue of exclusion. You know, if the young people, because this was the young generation talking about the problems that were unique that they were experiencing, and a starting point, which would have been a quick win, was to address this issue of inclusivity, so the young people can be sure by looking at the face of the government that they were being involved, they were participating in the affairs of the nation, and that could have been a quick win. And in order to put the country on the right path and create an enabling environment to address some of the Gen Z's issues, the abductions, which seem to be continuing, the arrests, and also the question of prosecutions. Those largely have not been addressed, and compensation for those who were injured and for families who lost loved ones, that has not been addressed. The properties that were destroyed, those have not been addressed. So we need to create this enabling environment to be able now to talk substantively with the Gen Zs and other stakeholders on a national platform on how to deal with the problems that were raised.
Do you think that environment can be created now?
I think it can be created, and I think the space is there. It's been created. It is upon the government now to seize it. Yeah, and I urge them that they should not take this formation of so-called broad-based government as the solution by itself, because it's for them to seize this moment. I remember when we were at the Serena talks during the crisis in 2007-2008, there were issues that were addressed in order to create the enabling environment, and I can say without any fear of contradiction that those quick wins and those issues that needed quick resolution have largely not been addressed.
Finally,